Well, hey, this is Dr. Rhonda Simmons, and I am so glad to be with you again. And welcome to another edition of Empowered Heart to Heart. I am so glad that you're here because this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. It's no mistake that you're here today, and we have a special guest. You know what I've said, I believe, almost every interview I've done, and that is that I have met some of the best people this side of heaven. And I'm not lying. I've had guests on this show from all over the world. You know, I believe this is episode 147, I believe. And so go back and look through all of our shows and you'll see the great people that we have interviewed. And today is no exception. But before we jump into our special guest interview, make sure that you like, comment, and share this video if you're watching on our YouTube channel or you're listening on our podcast. Make sure you subscribe in either place so that you'll be notified every single time a new episode drops. You don't want to miss a thing. And make sure you share this with your friends too so that they can get the value that's being put out here in every episode. I don't believe in wasting people's time or my oxygen. And so I believe in offering value every time and bringing my best to you every single time. And so if you want to reach out to me, you can do so on all of our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X. Make sure that you use our handle TSEFIORG. Yes, I know that's a mouthful, but that's way shorter than saying got to get the fingers right. The Simmons Empowerment Foundation Incorporated. You know, when you're looking at your backgrounds and you got to remember that left is not left and right is not right, you get the idea. But anyway, I am so glad that you are here. Are you ready for our interview today? Let me tell you about my special guest today. So I'm glad that you're here because this is an empowering episode with Danielle Detiege. She is also known as Coach Danni D, your guide to working with ease. And as a coach dedicated to helping creative professional women, Coach Danni D transforms the conventional narrative of success from being booked and busy to becoming paid and well rested. Let the church say amen. In this episode, we're going to delve into overcoming imposter syndrome, detoxing calendars, and crafting systems that foster a balanced life filled with joy and fulfillment. Coach Danni D will share her expert strategies on the capable and confident you. Ditch imposter syndrome. So get ready to uncover the triggers that fuel your self-doubt, learn to rewrite your story with newfound confidence, and discover practical mechanisms to maintain this confident mindset over time. We're not about quick fixes here. We're committed to your ongoing success. So whether you're advancing in your career or juggling family commitments, this episode is a must listen or a must watch for any woman leader seeking to lead a life defined not just by success, but by well-being and self-assurance. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Coach Danni D. Hello, Coach. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me to be your guest.
Oh, I wouldn't have it any other way. I am so excited about what you're going to share today. You have no idea how aligned what you do is with what I do and the mission for our podcast. And because we're aiming to help leaders navigate their lives and to balance their marriages, their careers, and their callings without burnout. And so I realized that what you do is so in sync with that. And I'm so glad that you're here. Out of everything that you could have coached on, what was it that made you choose this particular niche to pursue in your career?
For me, choosing this niche, it kind of came out of necessity. In my personal life, I've reached that point of burnout, that point of rock bottom, balancing it all, being all things to all people. And I realized, when I hit that rock bottom, I didn't want to come back out and get back into the things that I was doing before. I didn't want to, do things that weren't aligned, that weren't bringing me joy or fulfillment. It was just kind of going through the motions. So that kind of put me in a position where I was like, you know what, I got to do this differently. And so I navigated it for myself and then also for my business. And I just started getting pulled by people around me that also had businesses because they're like, wait, it's slow right now. Why aren't you stressed out? I got a system. I have a system. Like, trust the system, trust the process. And so they saw me operating in a different way, but still achieving success. And then it just kind of catapulted from there into a whole um, platform and way of life.
Wow, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. Can you describe for us what did burnout look like for you?
Burnout for me actually came in a grieving period. So I was my grandmother raised me. My grandmother got sick and she was in the hospital. When she came out the hospital, she had to have a specialized diet and all of these other things. So cooking for her every day, cooking for my household, had a business and a full-time job at that time, wife and mother. So all of those things together, it got to a point where it just weighed me completely down. And I can remember sitting in the den looking at TV, knowing that I needed to get up to fix her food for the next day. And no matter how many times that clock turned over, the next hour, the next half hour, I couldn't bring myself to move. And my husband ended up stepping in and getting it done. But just once I reached that place, I just realized that this I can't keep this up. Like we feel like that's what we have to do, but eventually it all catches up to you. And so I couldn't keep it up any longer. And I decided, you know what, I have to do things differently. I'm not even enjoying these things. I love my family, but I'm not even enjoying them because I'm tired from the other things that I'm doing. So even the time that I spend with them is not as quality as it could be. So yeah, that was what rock bottom looked like for me.
Wow, wow. Well, I'm glad that you had the boldness and the confidence to step out and to change. I think sometimes as women, especially women of color, we have a Wonder Woman mentality where
Mhm.
we are committed to do everything for everybody all the time. And we feel that if we can't, then we failed somehow. And none of that is true,
No.
but it seems like it's a mentality that we've taken on. So how did you go from being at the rock bottom of burnout to be the capable and confident you?
So a lot of that was, like you said, just being bold enough to believe that there was another narrative. Another part of that was, through like just the journey of life, paying attention to, that self-doubt voice. We have it, but we don't always think about what she's saying. And for me, it was when I started listening to what she was saying and figuring out where that's coming from. So, somebody said, that you couldn't do it when you were in the third grade and you have never let that go, or that you weren't articulate enough, or you weren't, whatever the thing is. I had to sit in that. I had to sit in, why is it that I don't believe in me? Why do I discount myself? And even, as I was working through that, it took sometimes for some people on the outside to say, like, I I value the way you think. And I always thought that the way that I thought was what made me different, but I didn't think about it as being special.
Mhm.
I thought about it more as a hindrance, but realizing that a lot of the stuff that I was hiding from the world was the stuff that I needed to be putting front and center,
Mhm.
and I needed to learn how to refocus myself to my success and not just you messed this up or you messed that up and letting that replay in my mind over and over.
Wow, that's powerful. That is powerful. So, uh, what are the steps? I heard your story, but if you were to share with our audience, how do people ditch imposter syndrome? You know, there are so many factors that contribute to that. How can we walk out from under that cloud of imposter syndrome?
So I I have a three-part framework, and the first part of it is discovery. And that's really, like I said, figuring out who that voice is, what that voice is saying, where did it come from.
Mhm.
Once we can figure that out, because sometimes we don't even know the voices that we're hearing. Like I've had clients before where I do this one exercise where we look at just a list of adjectives and which ones do you resonate with, which ones are like and why. And it wasn't until one of my clients looked at that list that she didn't realize that she felt uncomfortable calling herself a business owner.
Wow.
She didn't feel comfortable stepping into that term. And so then we kind of pulled that back and explored it deeper. But, we can't solve something that we don't examine. So we
Mhm.
have to look within first.
Mhm.
And then from there, it is flipping the script of that success versus failure. So we remember every time we stumped our toe. We remember every time you tripped on the stage on at your 8th grade graduation, and you ain't gonna never forget that.
Yeah.
But you do something successful and you forget almost as quickly as it happens. We don't celebrate successes as much as we should. We don't own successes. So I started a success journal
Mhm.
where every day writing it, write something that you did successful, and it doesn't have to be huge. It could be, I fought with the printer and I won. That was a success.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
a success, but the more we train our brain to see success, the more we continue to build success. And
Mhm.
so even something my other business, I'm a balloon decor artist. Sometimes I'm looking for a certain picture to send to a client, but in the process I'm scrolling through all of the pictures, and then I remember all of the things that I did that were amazing. I'm like, wow, I forgot I did that.
Right.
So we have to embrace our success. And
Mhm.
then the final part is maintaining it. So once we get there, our emotions are our emotions. They don't go away.
Mhm.
They're gonna always be with us. So we have to know how to manage them properly. So I personify them. So self-doubt, girl, look, you gotta go sit down because I got some work to do. So I know when it starts to creep in, I know, let me go pull the success journal and flip through it. Or
Mhm.
sit and think about something that's similar to this that I already did and I was successful at. Or it might be something that was harder than the thing that I'm stressing over.
Mhm.
So those are the ways that we can work through that self-doubt and then kind of keep her in her place,
Mhm.
so that she doesn't try to control things.
Yes, wow, that is excellent. You know, I love what you were saying about identifying your triggers. Um, I had an experience just the other day. My husband was listening to something on YouTube, um, and I didn't realize that it was triggering me. Every time, I mean, it was just playing, and it wasn't anything bad for anybody else, but for me, it was triggering me. And I would say within 15 minutes, if that, I asked him, I said, okay, well, you remember I told you that um, several years ago, I had some suicidal thoughts.
Mhm.
And I said, I didn't try it, but I had some suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
I said, I don't know what it is about what you're listening to. Well, really, it was something about famous stars who had either committed suicide or died. I think they committed
Mhm.
suicide, and it had nothing to do with me. I said, but something about what I'm listening to is triggering that. I said, I'm not suicidal. I'm here to stay. You're not getting rid of me. I said, but can you either put your ear pods in or listen to something else? And he just switched it to something else, and I appreciate that. But my point is, it is good not to let these triggers go and just, you know, have them unattended to. And
Yes.
you've got to know why you're triggered and remove yourself from those situations immediately. It can't wait, and I just what you were saying just reminded me of that incident. And you just have to know what your triggers are and create those healthy boundaries so that you can stay safe. And so
Absolutely.
yeah, I appreciate you talking about that. Are you doing like any type of challenge or anything that you wanted to share with the audience?
Yeah, so I do every other month I do the Capable Confident challenge.
Mhm.
The next one is January 15th. I didn't want to start it at the top of the year. We got too much going on at the top of the year. But basically that's what the challenge does. The challenge dives, takes a deep dive into all of those things and figuring out what those triggers are, because you're absolutely correct. We have to know them, and we also have to be comfortable with um taking a stand in the boundaries that you spoke about, because a lot of times we don't do that. A big part of imposter syndrome is comparison.
Oh,
And when
yes.
and when I say to people, get off of social media for a while, or if it's a particular person that's triggering you, they don't have to have done you anything wrong, but
Mhm.
it doesn't snooze them for 30 days. You have to protect your peace, even if that may feel uncomfortable to you, or you may feel like, well, that seemed like I'm beefing with them or I'm jealous or whatever. That's not what's happening. Internally, you know that this is not serving you, and it's
Yeah.
actually a disservice to you. So you need to pull back,
Mhm.
build yourself back up, and then you can, deal with whatever else is happening. But we have to be honest with ourselves first, and I think a lot of times we're not being honest with ourselves of what we are able to process
Mhm.
in real time. Sometimes you're trying to blow up your business and somebody else is doing something similar, and that's triggering you and it's keeping you from focusing on what you need to do. Just unfollow
Absolutely.
them. You can follow them
Absolutely.
again once you feel more confident. It's going to be
Yeah.
okay.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And so I love the fact that your challenge is starting January the 15th. If you are watching on our YouTube channel, that web address is on the screen. It'll also be in the show notes for both the YouTube and the podcast. So get involved, get connected in the Capable and Confident Challenge that Coach Danny D is hosting. And I love, I believe you said you do this every other month and it's for 30 days. That's
It's for
cool.
30 days. Yeah. I like to make it digestible because a lot of us are, wives, mothers, business owners. So the recorded part is like, 15 minutes or less a day. And then
Mhm.
we do group coaching calls where we can work through, because there's always going to be something that you either avoid it or that you're, stuck on and need a little extra coaching through.
Right, right. Well, that's exciting. So is the challenge free or do people need to pay? Um,
It is a paid challenge. It is, even though it's called a challenge, it really is a deep dive. So it's not just, like the little bingo card and you're done. It is a deep dive. We really are getting in there and working through stuff. And the beauty of it is what I've seen of clients on the flip side of them being more confident to come out and be the face of their business, to charge appropriately, to do all of those things that come with getting that self-doubt to stop, talking you into some bad decisions.
Wow. So do you do the group coaching every day of the 30 days or once a week, or how does that
Once
work?
a week, we do a weekly call where we go over whatever, was that week's content. But I mean, if something else, sometimes the Lord drives us in a different direction, we meet the need. We meet you
Yes.
where you are and where that need is, because a lot of times somebody will say something and the quieter ones in the group, that
Yes.
that was their thing too. And
Yes.
so, a breakthrough for one is always a breakthrough for the group.
Yes. Well, Coach Danny, as we wrap up, can you speak to the power of investing in your own well-being? Because I
Ooh,
think sometimes in dealing with people, uh, they they'll buy some red bottom shoes before they get the help that they really need so that they can live healthy, balanced lives. And as much as I love shopping, red bottom shoes is not going to turn off the imposter syndrome in my head. And
will
so,
not. It
yeah,
will not. It will not.
yeah,
I actually like speak to internal versus external confidence. The red bottom shoes is external confidence. You feel a certain way when you got them on,
mhm,
but that voice is still telling you otherwise. So we need to work on from the inside out.
mhm,
As far as investing in self, the material things, that's the equivalent of self medicating. That is not working on the inside. And as an entrepreneur who, I originally in my coaching business was teaching um business principles, and I still do in some capacity. But what I found was it was the mindset. It was the mindset that made the difference. I can run the whole game to you of how to operate your business, but if your mindset and yourself is not taken care of, it's pointless. It's just like I'm just talking to a wall. So you have to invest. I've never regretted investing in myself.
absolutely. And so that's why I want to encourage our audience, join this challenge. Join this challenge. Gone is the day of putting everybody first before you. And that may sound very arrogant to some, but consider this: on the airplanes, when the flight attendants are going over the safety, one of the very first things they tell you in an emergency, put your mask on you first. So they don't say it quite that bluntly, but they do tell you, put your
Yeah.
oxygen mask on you first. And so it's so important that we get the help that we need and we stop suffering in silence. And I really do appreciate the fact that you have this challenge. I did not know it was starting on January the 15th. And y'all need to get in the room.
Get in the room, start your year off right. I saw a post recently where it said about, us, pouring into others. And it
Mhm,
was talking about the Bible verse where it speaks about pouring from, people receiving from your overflow. And
mhm,
the content creator was saying, nowhere in there does it say anything about you pouring.
mhm.
And I think we get that wrong. We are pouring from our cup and not allowing it to fill up and overflow. So we have to receive in order to have that overflow. And if we don't take care of self, like you said, then we're no good to anyone else.
Wow. Wow. Well, Coach Danny, I really appreciate you being on our show today. This has been powerful. You've given us some nuggets to think about so that we can work with ease, and we can be the balanced leaders that we've been called to be. And I think you're doing a tremendous work. And Those of you that have a party coming up, you need to reach out to Coach Danny too and get that balloon decor going. That is a thing. I have seen so many designs, and I'm like, wow, it is just amazing what people can do. And I have no doubt that your decor, your balloon decors are just great. And
Yeah.
so thank you so much for being on the show. And if you'll just hang out just for a minute, I'll be right back as I close out the show. Okay?
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you that I have met some of the best people this side of heaven, and Coach Danny D is no exception. This has been a tremendous um, interview because we need help, ladies. If you are a woman in leadership, we need help, and it's time for us to stop suffering in silence and acting like we can do it all, we can handle it all. You know, it's kind of like having a baby on each hip, cooking dinner, washing the dishes and talking on the phone all at the same time. At some point, something's got to give. And I know you're not going to drop your babies. And so something has to give. And you need to get the help and make the investment in yourself. People have this misconception, that whatever the price is, oh, I can't do that. I can't do this. It is amazing to me that people will pay for what they value, whether it is logical or not. My husband and I recently watched a documentary that shared about someone who spent $2 million, guess what, on a Pokemon card. Yes, a rare Pokemon card. $2 million. Now, to my husband and I, that sounded absolutely insane. To the person who bought it, wasn't a thing because he or she valued it. My point is, value yourself, value your own well-being, and make the investments that you need so that you can bring your best self to the table in all of your relationships, whether it's work, family, or anything else. And so reach out to the link in the show notes or on the screen and get involved in the Capable and Confident Challenge that starts on January the 15th. You will not regret it, and you'll be glad that you did. So until the next time, be blessed, be encouraged, but most of all, be empowered. And I'll see you on the next edition of Empowered Heart to Heart.